Hello, social scientists. Are you ready to talk about Egypt? It's in the world. Okay. Um, we're going to talk about how the geography of Egypt has shaped the way the communities in Egypt have developed. But in order to do that, we need to first talk geography. So let's think a little bit about what we did last week. Last week, you analyzed travel brochures. You actually found a lot of really interesting attractions, destinations, and special features in Egypt. Let's look at those places on a map, right? One of our favorite tools as geographers. So here's a physical map of Egypt, and I'm going to point out some of the special attractions and places you discovered through those brochures. So a big one is Cairo. Cairo is the capital city of Egypt, super important place. You also learned a little bit more about Giza, which has these like incredible pyramids and this beautiful Sphinx. We found out last week about the Al Faim Oasis, and we also found out about Aswan and its marketplace. And one place some people discovered, but I think is pretty important, is the Azwan Dam, which is a dam that crosses the Nile River and allows the flow of the Nile River water to be controlled. Another really important place is the Valley of the Kings. That's where King Tut is. And Abu Simbel, which is another really cool landmark that a lot of people like to go to. So, and lastly, there's Luxor. These were all different places you found a little bit about last week. So let's think today a little bit more about the geography of Egypt. So we're going to start out by thinking about where in the world Egypt is. Now, as we all should know at this point in the year, our world has 7 continents and many countries. What are those continents? Well, I hope you remember this song. If you're in my class, I know I've been singing it a lot recently. But the continents are Asia, Africa, North and South America, Antarctica, Europe, and finally Australia. Thank you. Yes. Watch that video again if you want to memorize all the continents. It's the best song for memorizing them. Anyway, back to Egypt. Egypt is a country that's actually in 2 continents. So here's where Egypt is. I put a little flag on it. And Egypt mostly is in Africa, but then there's a small part called the Sinai Peninsula that's in Asia. You can kind of see it over here. Now you might be wondering, what is a peninsula? A peninsula is land that sticks out into the water and is connected to a larger piece of land. So that's where it is, right over here. Egypt is in a part of the world called the Middle East, and Egypt's total area is 386,662 square miles. That's humongous. It has the 3rd largest population in Africa, so it's a pretty big country. Here's another, a different map where you can see Egypt. Looking at this map, can you tell what countries border Egypt? Well, there are 3 of them. You've got Libya to the west, the Sudan to the south, and then Israel right here. What sea is north of Egypt? Well, it's the Mediterranean Sea. Now there's another sea. What sea is east of Egypt? The Red Sea. These are important landmarks because if you're trying to find Egypt on a map, you know you've got to look by the Mediterranean and the Red Sea in Africa, and then this little part of Asia over here. Okay, you might remember earlier in the year we talked about parallels, or these lines of longitude that go across the world. So there's the major one, the equator, right in the middle. And then we've got the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, this is a map of Africa. Look and see if you can find Egypt, and then see if you can tell which parallel Egypt is closest to. If you guess the Tropic of Cancer, you're correct. Now, why is this important? Well, the Tropic of Cancer is generally pretty hot and dry, all of the places along this line, mostly hot and dry places. The climate in Egypt is generally hot and dry, except for the Mediterranean coastline. So remember from the other map, the Mediterranean Sea is right here. So the part of Egypt that's right up against the Mediterranean Sea has a slightly different climate. Let's talk about some of the physical features of Egypt. There are two deserts in Egypt. They are the Sahara Desert and the Libyan Desert. And you can see them on the map here. Sahara Desert, Libyan Desert. Deserts cover more than half of the country. So yeah, it's a pretty desert-y country. That's not really a word. Sorry. The Nile River is a really important part of Egypt's geography. It flows through Egypt for about 1,000 miles and it drains into the Mediterranean Sea. There it forms a delta. As you can see on the map, it says the Nile Delta right here. And I bet you're wondering, what's a delta? I'll tell you. A delta is a triangle-shaped piece of land at the mouth of a river. It's made from mud and sand. Now, the last thing I want to point out while we're looking at this physical map of Egypt is that Egypt has many mountains. So there's a key over here that shows which color on the map tells you how high different places are. So the highest places are this dark brown, and places that are at sea level or lower are green. So you can tell there are a lot of mountains over here. We got some mountains over here. And here's a fun fact. The highest mountain in Egypt is called Mount Catherine. Oh, I thought that was awesome. Okay, what about human-made features? So these are some that we talked about earlier, some of these attractions. They're made by people, right? Like humans didn't make the Nile River. Humans didn't make the mountains or the desert. But we did make these things that are in Egypt that are a part of its geography. So let's take a look at them. Now, we went over, there's the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, really, at Giza. It's the largest pyramid in the world. This is a picture of it right here. It's right on the outskirts of Cairo. So here's Cairo, and then the pyramids are outside of it. It was built for this pharaoh in ancient Egypt, and it was made for his tomb after he died. It was built with such precision, so perfectly, that even our technology today cannot copy it. Many people wonder how the people of ancient Egypt were able to do this incredible thing. They built this huge pyramid. Then also in Giza, we have the Sphinx. It's one of Egypt's proudest landmarks, super important is the Sphinx. It's made from limestone and it's about 240 feet long and 66 feet high. So pretty gigantic. The Sphinx is at the edge of the Nile. So it's right along the river. You kind of see it in the background here. Just a super amazing landmark. So these are the first two. These are actual pictures of it. Then we've got the Cairo Tower. It's a super popular tourist attraction in Cairo. It's the tallest tower in Cairo, and it is 187 meters tall. So it's the tallest all concrete tower in the world. Pretty big deal. Here's a drawing of it, and then here's the actual picture of it. Then we've got the Luxor Temple. And so Luxor is a town, and then this temple is just a really beautiful site. And we're going to learn more later on in the case study that there are a lot of festivals and holidays that are celebrated at this temple. So here's a picture, and here's a drawing of it. It's a pretty important place for religious reasons, but we'll get to that when we start studying a little bit more about Egypt's culture. Then I've got a picture here of the Aswan Dam. So as I said before, it crosses the Nile River. It took about 10 years to build this dam. And what a dam does is it allows the flow of water to be controlled. And then once you've controlled the water, you're able to use it for things like growing crops or drinking water or power that's like generated from water. It also stopped annual flooding. So the Nile used to flood. And some people think it's good that the dam stopped flooding, and some people don't think it's so good. And then one other cool thing about the Aswan Dam is that it created Lake Nasser. So those are just some cool facts. Catherine's cool facts. Okay, last one is Abu Simbel, and it's these twin temples that were carved out of the mountainside during the reign of this pharaoh named Ramses II, and it's a very old, very popular tourist attraction that's pretty cool looking. So, picture, drawing, here we go. Time for us to put all this geographic information onto paper. You just heard a lot from me, and I want to give you a chance to like digest it all and make your own map, like all the maps that we've been looking at. So here's your job for today. First, I want you to watch this video on how to draw Egypt. It's a quick video, it's like a minute long, and then try to draw your own on a piece of paper. Now, if that sounds really difficult for you, totally understand. I also provided you with a template. So there's a PDF that says like template map of Egypt that you could just print out and use instead. Either way, you're going to need a blank map of Egypt. Then you're going to add some of the physical features and man-made features that we've been discussing about. So I have a checklist on Google Classroom for you to use. One of the most important physical features of Egypt, arguably the most important, is the Nile River. So you need to make sure you draw the Nile River. I drew mine over here. This is my example. And, oops, went too fast. You might notice that my drawing is not perfect. That's okay. We're not cartographers. We're not actually, this isn't a professional map making job. You just need to try your best. Then I want you to, so after you've tried your best and you've got the Nile River down, I'd like you to label the two deserts. So we saw on the map earlier, there's the Libyan Desert and then the Sahara Desert. I'd also like you to label the two seas and the two bordering countries, just so you can figure out where Egypt is in the world. Hello. So I've got Libya off to this side, Sudan. I said two. What are you thinking? That should say 3. Ding. Okay. Libya, Sudan, and Israel. Then I've got the Mediterranean Sea up here and the Red Sea over here. Lastly, you get to add some important landmarks. Now, I've listed all of the ones that we talked about today, but you don't have to use all of them. You can add ones that you think are interesting. Like I added the Sphinx and the Pyramid at Giza. I also added the Oasis, and I tried to draw King Tut and the Valley of the Kings, and I tried to do a little picture of Cairo. I think Cairo is pretty important because it's the capital. And I labeled the Sinai Peninsula. So now I'm going to go to that last slide that I accidentally clicked to before. Good luck and have fun. Again, I just want to say don't stress about it being like perfect. It's okay if it's not like, exact. I just want you to draw it out. See what you have learned about the geography of Egypt and put it on paper. That's what I want to see. And there's, like I said before, there's a checklist, and then there are also some sample maps, so you could copy where places are. Like when I was trying to draw the the little picture of Cairo, I knew like, okay, that's up in this corner of Egypt, so I need to make it around here. You know, try your best to like guess and think about where things should go. All right, that's it. I cannot wait to see what you do, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.